You are sitting in a chair that feels like it was designed to make you aware of your own spine. The room is small, rectangular and silent in a way that feels intentional. There is no clock, no windows. The air is cool, recycled, odorless. A single light above you hums faintly, the kind of electrical vibration that becomes louder the more you try to ignore it. On the table in front of you there is nothing except a glass of water that you have not touched because you are not sure if it is meant for you. You have been here long enough for your thoughts to begin looping, long enough to realize that silence can feel like pressure. You were told to come alone. You were told to leave your phone in a locker upstairs. You were told someone would speak to you shortly. That was 3 hours ago. You tried to reconstruct the sequence of decisions that led you here, the email with no signature, the interview in a building with no logo, the questions that were less about what you knew and more about what you believed. They asked you what consciousness meant. They asked you if identity was fixed or negotiable. They asked you what you would sacrifice to understand the truth about your own mind. The door opens without a sound. A person enters, wearing clothes that look deliberately neutral, neither formal nor casual. They carry a thin black folder. They sit across from you and observe you for a few seconds that feel like an examination. Then they ask a single question, spoken without emphasis. If you were given the opportunity to move through every level of human consciousness, knowing that each level would change you in ways you could never reverse, would you accept? You do not answer immediately. You feel the weight of the words settle into your chest. You imagine who you might become. You imagine who you might stop being. 11 seconds pass. They are counting. You say yes. They close the folder. Then they say quietly, "Welcome. Level 1 begins now." Level 1, the observer. You spend your first year learning to watch. Not people, not events, but your own mind. The facility is located in a remote area whose exact coordinates you are never given. You wake at 5:30 every morning. Meditation begins at 6:00 sharp. 45 minutes of silent observation of breath, posture, sensation. You are monitored by biometric sensors attached to your wrists and chest. Heart rate variability, micro-expressions, neural patterns. Your instructors speak rarely. When they do, they correct you with clinical precision. You learn that most of your thoughts are repetitive. You learn that attention is not the same as awareness. You learn that boredom is not emptiness, but resistance. You write daily reports, not about what you accomplished, but about what you noticed. The reports are evaluated by people whose names you never hear. You receive feedback in the form of numerical scores. Your first month average is 62%. By month 6, you reach 81%. You begin to understand that consciousness can be trained like a muscle. Your family asks why you have become distant. You tell them you are on a research fellowship. They ask what kind. You say cognitive studies. They stop asking because the answer sounds technical enough to discourage curiosity. You begin to feel the first subtle shift. You are less reactive, more detached. It feels like growth. It also feels like the beginning of a quiet separation. Level 2. The Architect. In your 3rd year, the program introduces you to cognitive design. You are no longer just observing your mind, you are learning to restructure it. You study neural conditioning, behavioral loops, subconscious triggers. Your schedule expands, meditation remains, but now it is supplemented by cognitive simulations. You enter virtual environments designed to evoke fear, desire, grief. You are taught to modify your internal responses in real time. You learn how beliefs are constructed, how narratives shape perception. Your instructors assign you case studies. You analyze historical figures, not for their achievements, but for the patterns of thought that drove them. You begin to see how entire societies can be influenced by shifts in collective consciousness. The realization is intoxicating and unsettling. You start to notice that conversations with friends feel shallow. Their concerns about careers and relationships seem like surface disturbances on a deeper ocean. You try to reconnect, but your language has changed. You speak in abstractions. They speak in anecdotes. You drift. Your performance metrics improve. You are now ranked in the top 12% of your cohort. Promotions are not celebrated, they are simply acknowledged. You receive access to restricted archives containing decades of psychological research never published publicly. You understand more about human motivation than most people ever will. You also understand less about how to belong. Level 3. The Influencer. By year 7, you are deployed into real-world environments to test your abilities. Your assignment is not labeled as such, but you are given objectives. You join organizations under assumed roles. Your task is to observe how ideas spread, how attitudes shift, how subtle interventions can alter group dynamics. You learn to guide conversations without appearing to lead them. You learn to introduce concepts that feel self-generated by others. You track outcomes meticulously. Data is everything. Each interaction is logged. Each influence attempt is measured. Your success rate begins at 38%. After months of refinement, it rises to 71%. You realize that consciousness is not just internal. It is contagious. Beliefs move through networks like currents. You are trained to recognize these currents and redirect them. The emotional cost intensifies. Relationships become strategic variables. You question whether any connection you form is genuine or instrumental. You begin to feel a persistent tension between authenticity and function. At night, you review your logs and wonder if the person you were before this program still exists, or if you have become an interface for something larger. Your family invites you to gatherings. You decline more often than you attend. When you do attend, you feel like an observer in your own life. Level 4, the strategist. After a decade, you are brought back to headquarters, a complex hidden within a metropolitan infrastructure that blends anonymity with accessibility. Your responsibilities expand from influencing individuals to shaping systems. You are assigned to a team that analyzes societal trends, economic patterns, cultural narratives, technological adoption curves. You are taught that consciousness evolves collectively and that strategic interventions can accelerate or redirect that evolution. Your days are filled with briefings. You present models predicting how shifts in education, media, and policy will impact the psychological landscape of entire populations. Your recommendations are implemented in subtle ways: public campaigns, institutional reforms, information flows. You begin to see the scale of your influence. Decisions you contribute to ripple outward, affecting millions. The recognition is internal. There are no awards, no public acknowledgement. Your compensation increases to reflect your seniority, but the currency that matters here is access. You gain entry to deeper layers of knowledge. Historical records of experiments that reshaped collective belief systems. You understand that the narrative of history is often a reflection of unseen cognitive strategies. The realization is both empowering and burdensome. You carry the weight of invisible impact. Level 5, the custodian. In your 18th year, you are appointed to oversee an entire division dedicated to the stewardship of human consciousness research. You manage teams across continents. You review proposals that range from educational reform initiatives to technological integrations designed to enhance cognitive awareness. Your authority allows you to approve or halt projects that could redefine how people perceive reality. You operate within secure environments where discussions are conducted without devices, where memory becomes the primary medium of transmission. You learn to make decisions with incomplete information, balancing potential benefits against ethical uncertainties. The cost of error is no longer theoretical. It is measured in societal consequences. Your personal life narrows further. The program becomes your primary reference point. You maintain contact with your family, but conversations feel scripted. You cannot share what you know. You cannot explain the complexity of your responsibilities. You experience moments of profound isolation, punctuated by flashes of clarity about the nature of human existence. You realize that consciousness is both the lens and the landscape. Level 6, the conductor. After 25 years, you reach the apex of the structure. You are entrusted with the coordination of global initiatives aimed at guiding the evolution of human awareness. Your office is unremarkable by design: a desk, a chair, a secure terminal. The simplicity contrasts with the magnitude of your influence. You attend briefings with leaders whose decisions shape nations. You provide insights not about policy or economics, but about the psychological readiness of populations for change. You understand that transformation cannot be imposed. It must be synchronized with the collective mind. Your role is to sense that synchronization. You have access to archives that document the trajectory of human consciousness across centuries. Patterns emerge, cycles of awakening and regression, moments when societies approach deeper awareness, only to retreat into fear. You are tasked with ensuring that the current trajectory moves toward integration rather than fragmentation. The emotional toll is cumulative. You have missed milestones, lost touch with former identities. You carry memories of decisions that altered the course of communities. Some outcomes were beneficial, others were ambiguous. You learn to live with the ambiguity. You become fluent in uncertainty. The program's internal metrics indicate that you have achieved the highest level of cognitive integration available within its framework. There is no ceremony marking this milestone. There is only a quiet acknowledgement in the form of expanded access. You can now review the initial records of your own recruitment. You see the notes from the person who interviewed you decades ago. Observational acuity, high. Identity flexibility, promising. Risk tolerance, acceptable. You are invited to return to the room where it began. The chair is the same. The table is the same. The light hums with the same faint insistence. You sit aware now of the full arc of your transformation. The door opens. A new candidate enters, guided by the same neutral instructions you once received. They look at you with a mixture of apprehension and curiosity. You ask them the question you were once asked. If you were given the opportunity to move through every level of human consciousness, knowing that each level would change you in ways you could never reverse, would you accept? They hesitate. You count silently. 11 seconds. They say yes. You close the folder. You understand now that the question is not about acceptance. It is about continuity. The program persists because consciousness is not a destination, but a process. As the door closes behind them, you remain in the chair, aware of the paradox that has defined your journey. You have gained unprecedented insight into the nature of mind and reality. You have influenced the evolution of awareness on a scale few could imagine. Yet the person who first walked into this room exists now only as a memory, preserved in archival notes and fragmented recollections. You realize that belonging to an invisible elite of consciousness does not grant immunity from the fundamental human condition. It intensifies it. You feel the weight of years spent navigating layers of perception. You recognize the cost of understanding. The light hums. The room remains unchanged. You breathe, observing the subtle movements of thought, as you once did at the beginning. The cycle continues, not because it must, but because you chose it. And in that choice, repeated across decades, you find both the origin and the consequence of the life you have lived.